Welcome to the History of 40K, a 40K Lorecast series with John Barsotti and Brad Chester.
This guy.
On today's episode, we'll continue talking about the third edition of the game. In the last episode, we reviewed the rules of the edition, but today we're going to talk about some of the units in the game and in an effort to better show how the game was actually played, while at the same time showing why some armies were a lot better than others thanks to their data sheets. A trend that continues 27 years on.
What?
Joining us today again is Snigs, who is maybe the best person we know at diagnosing if a data sheet is good or not, and if it has any weird cross-functional flaws.
Everything has flaws.
Yeah, it's more when you find the cross-functional overlaps that are like, oh, so that's just invincible now. Well, yeah. The History of 40K is a once a fortnight show focusing on the history of the game of Warhammer 40K on the tabletop, video games, movies, etc., but primarily focusing on the editions of the game itself. So let's just begin. I'm going to start with a quick recap of third edition. So everyone, in case anyone didn't watch the last couple episodes or it has been 2 weeks and they've forgotten.
Dare you?
Yeah, people forget. So third edition of 40K was released in 1998 by Games Workshop. It lasted until the release of fourth edition, which was in 2004. So 6 years in between editions. We're doing 3 years now or 4 years now?
3.
3. So yeah,
I think we'd actually probably be out of this edition if it wasn't for all the shenanigans.
Yeah. The nice thing about third edition is it streamlined the rules from second edition. The game became faster to play, but also allowed you to play with more toys in the same time. So really, really great. It was still, the game still is today a casual game. But back then it was still designed to be a casual game, just with some rules that you could explain to your friend without boring them to death or locking them in a room.
It's always been considered beer and pretzels, and it wasn't until 8th edition when they actually started putting out an actual Section 4 matched play rules. Everybody's kind of used to it now, but at the beginning of 8th, you actually had the rules, and then you had match play rules, and that didn't start till 8th edition. It's continued obviously on till now.
Yeah. And actually, with the release of 10th edition, we got Crusades. They actually seem to go the other direction, where now they're making the codexes almost more with that's a competitive standpoint, but more of a competitive mindset, but also now including specific rules for better narrative play. Something that they did in Psychic Awakening. I remember loving that in the Psychic Awakening books when it was like, hey, here's some narratives you can play.
The Crusade games have actually been going on for quite a few editions.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they've just been more hidden and harder to find.
That helps. If you have something that's really cool and fun, always make it hard to find. Smart guys.
Yeah.
It's like the speakeasy of tabletop gaming. All right, so over the
third
course...
edition, this is when we really got the beginning of hardcore tournaments, and also people were playing tournaments based on kind of whatever rules they wanted to include, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into some of those data sheets. Third edition, though, I would say had 15 codexes in it, but 6 of them were re-releases of prior codexes. Some future casts will talk about them, namely the fact that, long story short, the Drukhari Codex didn't actually work, so they had to re-release it so that the rules actually could be played in the tabletop.
And then there was on that one.
Yeah.
Like this thing, I actually did that at the beginning, because it's one of the first things I got was Dark Eldar. I got my Chaos, then I got Dark Eldar. And I started to play the Dark Eldar, and I'm yelling at Snakes because he's like, this is this, and this does this, and this does this. And I'm like, they don't actually do this. And he's like, you're an idiot, Brad. Let me see. All right, you're still an idiot, but also it doesn't work like this.
I would say, is the Chaos Space Marine book from the third edition still considered the best one of all time?
No.
Is a better one? Which was the Black Space Marine book? I thought that was third edition.
It was CSM. CSM had 3.5 was the black book.
Yeah, that's talking about the black books. That's what I'm talking about, the third edition.
Yeah, but it's Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to say Chaos. I meant to say Chaos Space Marine. That was still considered one of the best books.
That was probably the best Chaos book.
Okay.
Yes.
But today what we're going to do is just go down kind of memory lane and discuss some of the data sheets within some of these codexes, because I think it's a really good way for us to talk about what third edition was like and how it was played. We're going to skip the ones that are terrible, and we'll probably do more of these reviews in the future, but we'll just start with some good ones, namely Space Marines and the Black Rage. So,
which was such a cool. I actually wish they still did this because you don't get to choose how many people are a death company.
yeah. So
it's people that succumb to the Black Rage. It's a super cool mechanic.
It is. Let me just do a little background, people who don't know what Black Rage is. So Blood Angels, one of their traits, it's actually one of their curses, is the Black Rage, in which a Blood Angel is overtaken by so much furor about the upcoming battle that they become stronger, but they also lose control of themselves. And they end up being put into what's called a death company, where they're going to ride out into battle, slaughter the entire foes, and then die while on the battlefield. And by die on the battlefield, I mean either die on the battlefield or die before they try to get back from said battlefield. But
or if you're playing more recent Death Company, you just live wildly and never die.
Yeah. And also there's an incredible large number of you, but that's not important. So the Black Rage, anyone who gets it, gets +1 strength, +1 initiative if they charge.
Huge back in the day.
Yes. So that means that they're probably fighting first.
For everybody that plays the game now, you win. You fought based on initiative, whether you charged or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the number.
And the thing about this too is also that, I mean, how strength was pretty uniform. So even +1 strength in 3rd edition would have really moved the metrics on your hitting abilities.
It moved it quite a bit because you're talking like the armor value of a Rhino was 10.
Right. So they could actually get.
It was 11 on the front.
I'll say it's 11 on the front. Remember, don't sell it short.
10 on the sides, which meant that Death Company could penetrate the armor instead of just glance it.
Right. So you have such a higher chance of just blowing up the Rhino. And there was no emergency disembarkation back in the day either. If you surrounded a Rhino,
everything died in the Rhino.
Everything died, period.
I think the bigger one, though, is that I'm reading this verbatim. Blood Angels are so eager for bloodshed that they become barely controllable in combat. At the start of every Blood Angel's turn, roll a d6 for every Blood Angels unit in the army, including vehicles, squadrons, and independent characters.
Pisses me off so much. Because I'm a World Eater player, Blood Angels, if they're inside the Rhino, if you rolled the 1, win an extra d6 inches, and then they could go 12 and do stuff. World Eaters, if they raged, for some reason, they apparently had a yoga master inside there cheating out. He would be calm. You would get out of the Rhino and go wildly less distance than if you would have just stayed in the Rhino.
Yeah. At the same time, so I mean, that's a huge piece because they would move d6 inches and then do the rest of their turn. So you could, in theory, get up to it. If you have 6 units, one of them's moving an average of 3 inches more than it's supposed to.
Yeah, because you'd also remember you could assault after vehicles move. So you could move d6 +12, get out, charge 6 inches.
Yep.
So that d6 was gigantic, and the math on that of how the space between you and your opponent.
Yeah, and there's really no downside to this, by the way. You don't lose anything. Except I guess for the Death Company thing, where I did like this too, that you have to, at the start of the battle, roll a d6 for each of your squads, and a 1, 2, and a 3, they stay being a Blood Angel squad. On a 4 or 5, one model from the squad becomes Death Company, and on a 6, one of the unit models joins the Death Company, and you roll again, so that you can actually have up to 2 units going into a Death Company. Then you have to restructure your entire army into Death Company Space Marines.
Well, you actually have, a lot of times people would take Chaplain and he would get, I think it's D3 automatic Death Company.
Okay.
And you roll for the army, but you don't restructure your army at all. If Sniggs is playing a Devastator squad and a guy goes into Death Company, you now have a 4-man Death Company or a 4-man Devastator squad.
And the one guy's over in Death Company.
Yep.
What I don't see is what being Death Company does.
Well, they got Feel No Pain.
Death Company back in the day, not only did they get the Feel No Pain, but they also went to Death Company with whatever equipment they had.
Yep.
So if you had, say, 6 tactical squads and you lost 1 or 2 guys from every single tactical squad, all of your tactical squads would stay at 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
But if you took the sergeants out of every single one, you just put a whole bunch of guys with power fists, power weapons.
With also, Death Company had a 4-up Feel No Pain.
There it is.
They had a 4+ pain, and you could just put them. Death Company could just all go in jump packs if you want. And you just apparently they strap rockets to everybody's back and let them go. So you basically get a 4-up Feel No Pain. You're getting that +1 because you're falling to the Black Rage.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the most powerful Power Fist. And that was back in an edition where you had one special weapon, basically. This is why 3.5 and CSM became such a big thing, because you could equip multiple people with special weapons. But at the time, your sergeant had a special weapon, and that was it. You could have an entire unit with 4-up Feel No Pain, jump packs, possible extra movement, and you got the +1 strength.
So I have to ask, how good were Blood Angels?
Really good.
Okay.
Yeah, they were one of the best armies in 3rd edition.
That makes more sense. All right.
They could also take, a lot of people took, I mean, Sid took this forever. You could take a very shooty army of Blood Angels and then just have Death Company and or 2 units of Death Company. I think they could be split at the time, but you could have a couple hand-to-hand threats, including Death Company.
Yeah.
And you could basically set up a really crazy, because anything that raged, you got extra movement on that. So you could literally move your vehicles and get angles that other people couldn't.
That makes sense.
Now, do also remember that one of the big things about the Blood Angels army that was problematic is that there was no cap on the Blood Angels squad.
Yeah.
If you were rolling off
the Death Company squad?
Yeah.
Everybody would take 5-man squads of everything they had. So, and basically you're hoping to roll more and more, because you could have a giant unit of Death Company. Because think about it. If all of your heavy weapon squads and your random sergeants all went to the Death Company, it's a huge upgrade. You move faster, you punch harder, and you have a 4-up Feel No Pain.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about...
You can get 1 million guys in this thing. I've seen Death Company with 20 guys in it before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking that even just a 10-man squad of Power Fists in this edition would have been a problem.
Again, 4-up Feel No Pain, which is bananas in this edition.
Yeah, from there, let's actually talk. Oh, here it is. Here's my data sheet on Death Company. So yeah, Red Thirst, Fearless.
Fearless is huge.
That's kind of big. So in other words, yeah, so you get the 20-man squad. The thing we talked about last time, they lose 2 or 3 people, so they'd be -3 to their leadership, but that doesn't matter because they're completely fearless.
Yep.
Oh, good. And I like the ignore injury. What universe was a 4-up Feel No Pain a good idea?
You remember, this is an edition where I'm not doing a bunch of damage either.
Right. So everything's one damage.
There's hardly any multi-damage anything, because everybody's got 1 wound.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you basically, that 4-up meant you got hit by something. On a 4-up, you ignored it.
So like a las cannon. Yeah. Great. Do we have did mortal wounds spill over in this edition? Like could you smite your way through this?
No such thing.
Okay.
No
so no. All right. So
that's why the unit was terrifying, because it's super hard to get rid of, and you can't just doom bolt it or whatever. You know what I mean? It just doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, I think what makes it worse is the next one we'll cover, which is going to be Dante.
Dante, man, the Sanguinary Guard and Dante still have Death Mask, but they weren't even in the same universe as the 3rd edition Dante Death Mask, because anybody within 6 inches, I'm going to make sure I'm right on this one so I don't just start quoting 4th edition like I did last time we talked. But anybody within 6 inches at the start of their turn makes a morale check or starts falling back, and they literally take a -1 modifier. So you can ruin someone's entire turn, because Dante would run up, punch something, get within 6 inches of your opponent's army, basically.
And then a whole army could be falling backwards.
Exactly. And then you go, hey, looks like you fell back. What can you do when you're falling back? Well, you can shoot, kind of, if you don't have heavy weapons, but it might just be running away, because Dante went, I got Scary Mask. It's terrible. You're like, oh man, that's terrible. I want to get out of here.
Yeah, it feels like Dante. It's funny because we're going to cover a couple of the characters here. I can see why the tournaments are like, yeah, no, you can't have that. That's an absolute no.
Inferno pistols were also bananas at this time, because everybody's basically T4, and Dante's Inferno pistol was strength 8 AP2, which means unless you have an invuln, you don't get a save. Basically, if he wounds you, you just die. That's how it was back in.
Now, also remember that in 3rd edition, if your strength was double the toughness, it was
auto dead.
It did not matter. Did not matter how many wounds you had. It was instant death. Also, I have something that we forgot. I managed to look through the rule book I have, is that all the independent characters got to place where their attacks went in a squad.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
So,
no.
They could pretty much go, hey, those 3 las cannons over there, I want to target those 3 guys.
Oh.
It's pretty badass.
Oh. All right. So just before we continue, how many tournaments would allow independent characters?
It depends on the not many.
That's what
Not
was
many,
kind of
but
my
also
guess. Yeah.
even if they did independent characters, it would determine on what independent character.
Oh, so they would actually, it would go that specific where you would have independent characters, but like not
nobody's
Dante.
letting Eldrad play him.
Or we're going to get to Eldrad later. Eldrad's wrong. Eldrad's wrong.
This is also before we had GW with Warhammer Community, before we had ITC. The rules were all just based on whose house you went to.
Yeah. Wherever you're playing, that person was in charge of what rules you were using. And the thing is if you look at the rule
So
book,
it's the dungeon master, but you play against them.
Well, the thing is that your TOs at the time were effectively that. But the thing is that GW encourages that. That. If you look at the book, they tell you to use whatever the hell you want.
No, I think in a beer and pretzel setup, I actually love this. I mean, because when I look at it from a Dante's awesome, but you just have to let your opponent bring more models than you bring. Like it's like Dante would be really great in like a 2,000 to 3,000 type setup. It's just not in a even playing field.
I mean, if you want to go with crazy rules, go to our next data sheet.
Tyranids. Yeah, the monstrous creatures. This is
monstrous
awesome.
Creatures. I actually think that monstrous creatures was a great rule in 3rd edition. I don't think they get the same love that they did.
I mean, when was the Carnifex better than
3rd edition?
Third and 4th edition? It was by far its best. It should be.
Yeah.
It didn't allow armor saves. It did its strength plus 2d6 if it was trying to penetrate armor, which is get a bigger dice roll.
I mean, let's just go in order. What I love that they're immune to morale. But not immune to morale. They just never fall back. They assume to have automatically passed any morale check.
Which this is actually bigger than Fearless because there was ways to try to take away Fearless.
Right.
Tyranids didn't need Fearless. They were effectively Fearless, but they were better than Fearless because they auto-passed the test. Which it didn't matter if it was minus 1,000, you auto-passed.
And then to Snig's point, apparently also they can choose to allocate their close combat attacks against a specific enemy. So apparently my Carnifex had precision.
Yeah, just like independent characters did.
Yeah. Ugh. And
also, they have so much stuff though because you couldn't split fire back in the day at all. Like that was the Space Wolves' big claim to fame is that as long as you had the Long Fang Sergeant, you could split. No one could flip. Ever you chose to shoot, Tyranids could shoot at different things. The big guys could. And the big guys counted as I should actually read the thing. Fast and Deadly. You could roll 3d6 when you're looking to see how far you could move through difficult terrain. It's a big deal.
Because you always pick the highest. It wasn't an addition thing. So you're picking the highest in this era. I also like that when they would fight a vehicle, it was strength plus 2d6 armor penetration. Did anything else get that? And then Tyranid monstrous creatures? It's like a las cannon didn't get that.
Multi-Melta got it.
Okay, there it is. Okay, Multi-Melta's got it.
Right. Melta used to be the best armor penetration.
Look, I might have like something else has to get this because otherwise it's too much.
Yeah.
Also, the monstrous creature counting as units for like table quarters and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what this means. Sorry.
So like you used to play Stinks, I played it a million times. You got good stories about it. But it was just who had more stuff in any one table quarter and they counted.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of the early games there was the relic, there was table quarters, victory points.
Got it.
And victory points was how much stuff you destroyed. Relic was one token that you had to get.
Yeah, you literally took one objective, and whoever had that objective won the game.
Yep.
Fair enough.
And table corners was number of units in each corner.
Yep.
Simple. Basic.
Yeah.
I like it.
The game was much simpler mission-wise as far as tournaments.
And that's what they talk about in Meat Grinder is just victory points, basically.
Okay. But I want to talk a bit more about the Carnifex himself, because I do like some of these rules. First off, a lot of options for weapons. Did notice that pretty quickly.
I miss this so much, by the way.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that you get these vanilla, here's your unit. It can have any weapon he wants. You look at this, hey man, Scything Talons cost a significant amount less than a Venom cannon for reasons, because it's a lot better, so you put these things on, you could make your unique units of, hey, I made a bunch of my Carnifexes only have melee units or melee things because they're cheaper.
I mean, if I go into my closet right here, my Carnifexes all have like bone maces on them. They've got tusks on them. I have to own a lot of Carnifexes because those things were a little bit too small to magnetize. So at a certain point, you just bit the bullet and just went with it.
And they even tell you the characteristics and weaponry of Carnifex can be substantially altered by using the biogenetic modification procedure detailed later. So you could put other buffs on it. You could put the tail on it. You could make it go faster. I like the fact that Tyranids, you could pay points to make them adapted to whatever you had. Sniggs and I both played Tyranids back in this day, and we had wildly different armies because we're trying to do different things. And I love that because you could make your own high fleet and adapted to the way you want it to play. And that was how Tyranids played. I mean, that's how they do in the lore, is they consistently adapt to exactly what they need on the battlefield.
Sniggs, one question I have for you is extended carapace +1 to the save. So it takes me from a 3-up save to a 2-up save.
2-up save.
Mathematically, how big of a deal was that in this edition?
In this edition, it was insane because AP2 weapons were not that common.
Got it.
Power weapons were still a thing, still annoying, but AP2 was mostly just las cannons and plasma pistols. I don't think there was much else.
There's hardly anything.
Yeah, so they were getting
weirdly
saved.
enough, Melta was AP1.
Yes, Melta was AP1.
Makes sense.
But like almost everything from missile launchers on up was AP3 or better.
I'm just looking at the data sheet and I'm seeing toughness 6, 4 wounds. AP, you're going to put the extended carapace on them. So AP2.
Think about what we just talked about
save
this
of 2,
before. Because what you would put is you could make him weapon skill 3 by adapting him, but the ballistic skill, you'd get him to weapon skill 3 for sure. If you're making him hand-to-hand, you'd give him the enhancement for +1. But think about this guy versus vehicles. He's strength 10 plus 2d6.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt shortly. The weapon skill enhancement didn't come until later.
Okay, fair enough.
Fine.
Also, at the beginning of 3rd edition, the model for the Carnifex was metal.
Yeah.
Those I've seen. We'll do a cast in the future about the most dangerous models in all of 40K, and I think metal Carnifex. What's the World Eater one? The Juggernaut, is it? Yeah.
Juggernaut. It was a World Eater on Juggernaut.
Yeah, well, that weighed 4 to 5 pounds, like they're bricks.
You put that in a sock and you murder someone.
Yeah. All right, but after some Xenos, I do want to jump into one of my favorites of the era, which is the Imperial Assassins, specifically one of them. But this was, in the closet right there, I have my Vindicare Assassin that I bought during 2nd edition, so like 94, 95 era. Is when I want to purchase that
Migs
thing.
loves that guy. I hate him with a passion.
He's so perfect. But the rules on Imperial Assassins, because Assassins had a codex.
Let's go to the bottom.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason that the Calidus is plus 70 points to that Assassin total, because that guy was broken.
Well, yeah, but let's just go through the basics. So first off, the Assassins, they never fall back. They always pass morale. They never make any checks whatsoever, and they cannot be pinned. So you have to kill them. Otherwise, they keep moving. They have a 4-up invuln, which they do still have, which is great. But for a non-named character, I'm assuming 4-up invuln was fairly rare in this era.
Yes. Also, you got to go look at him. The Calidus is so busted.
Here it is. I pulled up the Calidus now, so we can.
The phase sword says you don't get a save.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So let's go through it. So the Calidus is the one from the edition everyone loves to talk about. The C'tan phase sword can only be used in close combat. No armor saved allowed against the phase sword, even in vulnerable saves. So if it hits and it wounds, you die.
You take it.
Nice.
And the biggest thing is that against a lot of armies, the Calidus' special rule was the beginning of the game. You could move one unit of the enemies 6 inches in any direction.
Tell the Necron story.
So I played next to Pete one game, and you used to only get resurrection if you were within 6 inches of your character. And the guy put his entire army pinwheeled into one guy. And at the beginning of the turn, Pete made him move 6 inches back. So he was out of range.
Yeah, so
where the other thing and bombed his army. Also, this is crazy because you could actually take characters and move them forward so they no longer were protected by anything around them. So you just kill their HQs on turn 1 with this. This was such a bananas wild model. He also had an AP1 flamer and he had the face sword. This guy was crazy.
Well, yeah, I do like she's always in reserve, even in missions that don't allow for reserves. And when she's available, she can be placed anywhere in the battlefield and can move and fight normally in the turn she arrives.
Yeah, they did some changes from 2nd edition on Assassins.
Because you didn't get all your saves before too.
Well, because I forget which one it was, but they had the polymorphine. So the assassin actually replaced one of your opponent's models.
Yeah.
Oh,
remember G2?
That's Calidus. That might have been later. Yeah, that's another piece Calidus got. Yeah, that's
Remember the old Gene's to the rule of Sarge is looking funny.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that's right. That was a good rule, by the way. Yeah. What's the other one here?
It wasn't a really great rule for your opponent because you rolled randomly on what he came out of, either a sergeant or he would just pop out of Abaddon.
But yeah, let's go to another one of my favorites, Death World veterans. So now we're going to go over to Imperial Guard. I also have metal Catachans in my closet back there. They are in there.
Were so good back in this edition.
Yeah.
Because when the terrain was actually made a big difference, how we play with walls. Back in the day, you had so many different terrain types, and they effectively either ignored all of them or got bonuses with all of them.
This is kind of crazy to me because if I read the rule book correctly, you bring your Catachans like you would normally, and then if you want to, they can become Death World veterans, in which case they just get all of the rules. So I assume everyone just made everything Death World veterans.
You could, but it's all these things cost points back in the day. You know what I mean?
Feels worth it for a 4-up cover save.
The 4-up cover save for everybody that's playing today. 4-up cover save wasn't cover that I got modified. 4-up cover save meant you got a 4-up save.
Yeah.
Period.
On a model that had a 5 or a 6-up normally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an invulnerable.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. For hiding behind a tree from a melta.
Yeah, exactly. Which they can also move through as if it wasn't there.
Yeah. It also can see through 12 inches of woods. But I think one of my favorite ones is in the next one, which is the Commissar rule. Which I love they put this in there, but it just seems like, I assume you didn't have to bring Commissars. It was just an option.
Your standard guard units always had a sergeant leading them, and they often had commissars. The guard rules were really bad.
Okay.
Especially because of the morale and how you took negatives for.
And they had bad
guys.
Yeah, I was saying they had a bad leadership and.
Oh, so the commissars, because my
commissar made it so you didn't fall back. You would kill a guy.
Yeah.
Instead of falling back. But, Death Row veterans were notorious for not wanting anybody talking shit to them, basically.
Yeah. Because in the lore, this is perfect. In the lore, it is true that the Catachans don't get commissars, and I guess since 3rd edition, they went, well, if you want to bring one, you can bring one, but on a D6, but you roll a D6 for each of them on a 1. An unfortunate accident happens to him; he cannot be used.
Well, even in the sheet, I love it. They even when they talk about it, they also suffer a disproportionately high number of accidents.
Yes.
In quotes.
Yes. This is I had to highlight this because I just think it's an amazing rule they put in that, this is pure lore, which God bless them for doing it. But after that, we'll talk about the real hero of the day, Sly Marlborough, who I really don't like as a character, but
he's awesome. You also forgot about the Deathward snipers. They're so good.
Oh, I think I have snipers later. I think
Deathward. Yeah. Those guys have a 3-up cover save, which means they have a 3-up invuln save.
Yeah, but Sly Marlborough, I do want to spend some time on. He's a one-man army. He operates alone, striking from ambush. But here's what's great, because I guess snipers can move every turn. I guess teleported every turn. Is that the best way to think about snipers in 3rd edition? Where you'd redeploy them every turn?
Depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm not really remembering the sniper role really good.
When I read it, it's what I said. Every turn they actually move. So the snipers actually are able to effectively deep strike, for what is in 10th edition uppy downy, they would just kind of move around. The difference is that once they were revealed, they couldn't do it anymore. So as long as they were hidden, I forget there's a rule in how that worked. As long as they were hidden, they could teleport each turn. Marbo always could teleport. Even if he was revealed, he could still jump around the board, making him the world's biggest pain in the ass. He also has a super ripper pistol that's just with his strength, which just fires poison metal shards at people, which is great for poisoning space marines, right, Brad?
Please stop. So many ways that you can filter out toxins for marines, and somehow they keep getting poisoned.
Yeah.
It makes me sick.
But he also had a power sword that re-rolled failed wounds in close combat. That's the first time I've seen the word re-roll, I think, in anything.
See, you're missing out on one of the things that Snigs and I are noticing right away, because he also has a demo charge, which is a large blast AP2 bomb that he would throw at you.
Yep.
Cool.
5-inch template.
I would say 5-inch template.
Oh, good God. So you just take out a squad.
Yeah. Every time he shows up,
you
you can throw that demo charge.
All right. So Sly Marbo, good.
There's a reason why this dude cost $135 back in the day, which is ludicrous at the time for someone.
So earlier, though, when we talked about the Carnifex, we talked a bit about the upgrades, and I want to pull up real quick the upgrades available for Imperial Guard, because this really, I think, was back when Guard players went a little bit loopy with their collections.
There's also no limit to what you could put on. Every single one of these vehicle upgrades cost points. So you could take a tank and effectively double its point cost by putting upgrades on them.
So before I jump into any of them, how many times did anyone bring the Hunter Killer Missile?
No.
I mean, I just
they cost only 1 point back in the day.
Okay, fair enough. Because in my head, I'm like,
let me tell you what.
Nothing has missed on the tabletop more than Hunter Killer Missiles.
Well, I'll tell you what the Guard players did bring: searchlights. Searchlights were free in a bunch of vehicles, and they ignored night fight because you would light up a unit and you'd be able to shoot from across the table.
I think also smoke launchers are the other ones that are just devastating, because I do like it does like to place cotton wool around the vehicle to show it's concealed by smoke. That's written in the rules.
I've played Rider Rush so many times. You've always had something to mark everybody that smoked. You also, here's 2 things that you had to have. One, you had to have something to mark everything that smoked when it moved up and smoked. Then you also had to have something to show if your vehicle gets blown up, because a piece of difficult terrain is there. So you have to have a crater for every one of your vehicles. So you had to bring your model, and then you had to bring your smoke, and you also had to bring a crater piece of terrain the same size as your vehicle.
So one rule on here that I don't understand the basics of is camo netting. So camo netting says that you can set up anywhere in your deployment zone and it's considered hidden. So does that mean if you had camo netting, you couldn't draw a line of sight to it?
Depending on the board.
It was night fight. Basically, it counted as night fight, even if it wasn't.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And if it was night fight, you had distance.
Yep.
Night fight.
Unless somebody put a searchlight on you.
All right, but I do want to then, we talked about the vehicles. There's nothing, and I own, I don't think I'm over 20 of them yet, but Lehman Russes. This is maybe the most iconic thing in the game for Guard players. And it much like the Carnifex, you could just load it up with stuff.
Let's talk about the front facings though. So a Lehman Russ is long. It's not exactly shaped like this. You had to be able to see the side armor, which means you only had to be like over here. People would actually do stuff and put auxiliary shit to block you out from seeing. So a lot of times they'd
make the front bigger.
Well, they'd make the vehicles like side to side, or put your smaller vehicles blocking the side armor. You would used to be able to. People would like literally take 3 Lehman Russes and jam them together, so that you can only shoot front armor and then have
all
something
3 of us are old enough to know what the flying V is, Brad.
Yes.
And this also, again, this goes back to a 3rd edition rule where they used the rule that a unit does not block, or a unit does block line of sight. So
infantry blocked.
Yeah.
So you have to do vehicle for the vehicle.
Vehicle to vehicle, but infantry to infantry, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, front armor 14 means that a las cannon's wounding it on like a 5 then?
5. Yep. And that's a glancing hit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and a glancing hit. So it'll actually...
And a missile launcher could only get a glancing hit on it. And then like half the weapons in the game, auto cannons, all the strength 7, strength 6 stuff could not wound you.
Yep. Of course, the Carnifax was 10 plus 2d6.
He's soccer tossing people, baby.
Although I still think my favorite piece in this whole data sheet is the optional equipment. There are 14 pieces of optional equipment you could put on this thing. Just good for you guys. Good for you guys. But
you know what? Let's go to the rule that should be in the damn game right now.
Yeah, let's talk about tank shock. We skipped tank shock last week, and I want to talk about tank shock because I think it's easier to talk about it when we talk about vehicles, which we just did, because there's 2 pieces of tank shock and death or glory. And I'm going to let you 2 wax poetically about this era.
It's so good because right now in the game, I can't move over a Nurgling for some reason, even though he's going to be track butter. If I actually did it. In the game, you would say, I'm moving X amount of inches. You actually had to declare how far you were going. And everybody that was in your path could fall back or make a death or glory, which is 1 attack. And if it immobilized or killed the vehicle, you immobilized or killed the vehicle. But if you didn't, you died.
I like the concept death or glory. So tank shock is basically I run my vehicle at you and everyone gets out of the way, right? Yep. And death or glory is one dude holding a pole arm saying, not going down like that, and tries to take out the tank.
Yep. And
it was always the sergeant with the melta bomb.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a sergeant with a melta bomb or somebody at the way, because you moved everybody out of the way except for that guy.
Why the sergeant with the melta bomb? What would happen?
Because he gets 8 plus 2d6 to hit the.
Oh, because he hits automatically, and then because we've solved that problem, he's got a decent chance to actually pop the thing. I can see that cinematically in my head where he's just slapping the melta bomb on and jumping out of the way.
To be able to do crazy shit with this because you had like a big ass orc mob, like 30 guys. You would drive your tank into the middle of them, and they would have to move the minimum distance to get out of the way, so they couldn't just wrap around. So you could move multiple tanks and take a 30-man mob and move it completely outside. And if it can't get into coherency, it has to keep falling back.
Yep. Oh, boo.
Yeah, so you could do that with bigger squads and just in the morning. You could actually make it so you could go, I got a tank here, and your unit's right here, and just walk it off the board because it doesn't have anywhere to go, so it auto dies.
And this is also the beginning of some very big problems with 40K rules. The Eldar Wave Serpent, for example, tank shocking could move a ridiculous amount of distance. And you could split units in ways where they couldn't regroup.
They can never regroup because the Wave Serpent's really big and you can go 24 with it. So you can zoom across.
Did the Wave Serpents at this point have a little antenna off the base too to make it even wider? Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, of course they did. Well, let's talk about jump packs real quick, because this is another one that we covered last week about when you fail morale and you move back 2d6 or d6. And sucks if you failed morale to a jump pack unit, because
it also sucked if you failed your morale. So there was a lot of things that caused morale checks. So like, for instance, Guard had a bunch of what was that? What did they have besides the flamers that caused instant morale checks if you got hit by any of them? They had a bunch of indirect that caused panic. And if you failed your check, you ran away.
I think it was the Manicore.
Yeah. One of them had that. So like people would take those quite a bit. If you failed your morale check and you're rolling 3d6, remember deployment was only 12 inches up. and you have to roll 3d6 to see how far you run away.
You just go.
And if any one of your models goes off the board, the whole squad's gone.
So basically, turn one, I artillery you. You fail in morale. Decent chance you lose the unit.
You're just gone. Yeah.
Those are good times. Yeah. So because jump packs would move 12 inches as opposed to 6. And
Also,
they could, but they still only charged 6. But that means they were at 18-inch threat range every single turn.
yeah, but also this is when, again, terrain made a bigger difference.
Mhm.
The jump packs, if you went into difficult terrain, on a roll of 1, that guy died. You also rolled for your guys individually when you're rolling.
Yeah, and at the same time, we also have the issue of, so jump packs are pretty prevalent in, obviously, Blood Angels. So we have jump pack, Blood Angels, potentially moving D6, plus 12, plus 6 on the charge. Yeah.
Which is why everyone deployed a half-inch back.
Yep.
There it is. Just in case. Because, all right, there's 24. You're right. Just in case.
You're like, and I'm slightly back. Also, remember, if you're bad at math, you'd have to get out and declare. And if you didn't have the distance, you just stood there. There wasn't getting back in. You just hung out.
You didn't measure anything.
There's no pre-measurement.
So you could get this wrong, and you could be sitting half an inch from the entire enemy line.
Can't tell you the amount of times you saw Dark Eldar, World Eaters, Blood Angels, and they goofed up and had their entire army sitting in front of the opponent's army going, well, that sucked. Awkward moment here.
Maybe I'll make some saves.
And then you died.
Yeah.
Pretty badly.
So let's jump into some more Xenos real quick. And let's start with a model who looks way better today than it did back then. The Solitaire.
It looks so bad.
This is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life.
Catcher's mitt on.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they were going for when they designed this. I just know that whatever they're going for, they missed, because it looks horrible. But it's got some decent rules.
It does.
It's good for one turn. It also has got a bunch of cool stuff. I do miss this. In this edition and some others that go with it, 4th edition, they had cool things. A lot of models had immunities. For instance, the Solitaire was immune to all mental things, leadership things, and basically anything that said it attacked the mind.
Yeah.
And it's specifically on that.
Because they have no soul. Yeah.
Right. Well, for instance, like the Avatar is molten metal. So if you shot it with a flamer or a melta gun, it did not affect him.
Oh, cool. Those are good rules. I do miss the days where some things just had some auto defeats, like back when, even in 8th edition, when certain Space Marine would hate certain chaos. If they fought each other, you got just endless rerolls. It sucked when you got the matchup, but it was kind of fun and thematic.
I know. Some of these things were, there was more flavor in this. I liked it a lot. Solitaire was awesome because it mattered how far he went.
So let's talk about the Blitz attack, because the Solitaire's had the Blitz, I think forever, right? In every edition, he's had some variation of the Blitz. Back then, it's pretty nasty. He's got a 12-inch charge, which is, so he has double the distance. And rather than +1 attack for a charge, he gets +1 attack for each inch of unused charge distance up to a maximum of 6. So if you could sneak it up, you could be coming in there on 10 attacks. Ew.
Yep. With his catcher's mitt.
Yeah, with his catcher's mitt of doom bread.
It was really powerful, but it did look really stupid.
And I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure it was a power weapon as well.
That would make sense. So 10
it was
attacks.
A power weapon, but it was a catcher's mitt.
Yeah, so weapon skill 8. So he's hitting most things on a 3 or a 2. If it wounds you, you just die. That's cool. That sounds fun.
This is weapon skill again. Remember, weapon skill never got better than a 3 and never worse than a 5.
Oh, that's right. Okay, because he never got to a 2, but it was just, so he's on 3s then. All right, so he's hanging out on 3s.
This I miss so much on this, because there was hardly any rerolls in the game. So things weren't as lethal because there was just a chance you just bricked.
Right.
And you didn't have 57 rerolls to make things work.
Right. So the next one we'll do is the Wraith Lord, who is
such a boss.
Yeah. Again, this was Now, I will be honest, I'm not sure if this data sheet's from the early part of the edition, the later part of the edition, but Wraith Lords got dirty at some point. Namely, the fact that they were strength 10 when they felt like it.
Well, it depended on what they had, because you could put them, you could make them have all shooting attacks. But the thing is that the Wraith Lord was such a great model because it was T8.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were strength 4, which is a lot of the things in the entire game, bolters, hand-to-hand combat, you could not. If you were double somebody's toughness, you just couldn't win them. Well, at all.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing a lot in the really good units is this last piece here of the fearlessness, where they don't fall back and they can't be pinned, meaning that you have to kill them or they just keep coming after you the whole time. And yeah, this one and we're going to cover the Star Cannon in a second, but giving it quite a few options on weapons was gross.
Well, the thing is that they did a really great job, because you used to not be able to move and fire heavy weapons unless you were a tank or a platform, which is a heavy bike, not just a regular bike, a heavy, like a attack bike, attack bike, dreadnought, monstrous creature, which weirdly enough, the Wraith Lord was not.
Yeah, but it still could do all those things.
Yes.
Yeah. So it didn't have any of the downsides and just all the upside. That's 75 points, by the way. I mean, sure, you're going to add quite a few extra points with your Star Cannons, but this thing's cheap.
Which was so good.
This thing's cheap. Speaking of Star Cannons, I did want to pull up Eldar weaponry, just because when we talk about the Eldar in general, they tend to do pretty well with this. So the Star Cannon is strength 6, so it's heavy 3, so 3 shots at strength 6, AP 2. So
Star Cannon was probably the best weapon in the game for reliability into anything you wanted to shoot at. Yeah. Obviously, it wasn't great at killing tanks, but it's super fast and could basically get side armor, so you at least had a chance, and it just murdered everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that because it's a 36-inch, although it's hard for me to turn down a good D cannon. It's just, God.
Very few things had D cannons, though, back in the day.
Yeah, I forget we'll get to the edition. Was it 4th or 5th where you could make your own vehicles and you could put like 7 D cannons on something?
I think that was 5th. What was the make your owns? It was the end of 4th, the beginning of 5th. Because you could make your creatures also.
It was one of the funniest rules they ever made, as far as I'm concerned. People were making apocalypse weapons.
Let's talk about the fact that Snigs had the weirdest looking bugs ever, because you could make your own big creatures at that time. Also something that was barely allowed in tournaments.
And now I am gonna interrupt here briefly.
Please.
It was not make your own exactly, but I had some of the old 3rd edition Tyranids, which John, I did send.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. Those are awesome. Yeah.
That the 3rd edition Haruspecs looks nothing like the current Haruspecs.
No.
Not even remotely close.
No.
And the size was insanely different.
They were so small back in the day. It was so
they weren't.
No. I'm talking about the regular, the average model.
Well, yeah, it was because the models were all over the map. You had some that were tiny, and then others that were just like Forge World, candidly.
Yeah. The Haruspecs was, I think in the picture I sent you, the Gene Stealer is like this big, and the Haruspecs is like that big.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
And it had the giant alien head thing too, didn't it?
Old Tyranids were better looking, I'll be honest. The new models are cool, they're beautiful, but the old Tyranids I just thought had a bit more flair to them. I don't love a lot of the old models, but the old Tyranids had a lot more flair. But let's finish this off with, I mean, was Eldred the most broken part of the game?
I mean, I don't know, because in 3rd edition, I never got to play with him. I own the model. No one let him in tournaments. Like, just no one.
Let's go through why, because it is funny. I mean, I do like, you have to be an Ulthwé army of 2,000 points or more, and both players have to agree to allow him in the army. That's on his data sheet, not a side rule written in a white dwarf. His data sheet says, I can't play with this unless my opponent says, yeah, I'm cool with this. Why, Brad? Because why don't you explain why?
Well, he could stop you from casting. He rerolled his casts. He had an invuln save. He had Eldritch Storm, Fortune Guide, and Mind War, which were just Mind War was broken. You just rolled against leadership. Each of you rolled a d6, and you just died if you rolled higher.
Oh, is it the thing we had that in? Was it 8th edition, 9th edition? Was it the Jeansler cult?
Except for you took wounds on it.
Yeah,
there just wasn't wounds. I mean, like Eldrad's a big ass character, 3 wounds. So you would do that, and you would just take wounds on it. And Fortune was full rerolls. Guide was full rerolls. No one else has rerolls. That's why it was such a big deal.
Ooh, yeah. I do like some of the pieces here that in divination he also gave you a redeploy.
He got your redeploy, but he also did, because you used to have to roll for where reserves came in, and Eldrad gave you a +1 on that.
Oh, I forgot about that. That each time that you had to try and bring reserves in, it wasn't a guarantee, and sometimes they would not come into the game.
No.
Yeah, he just like, hey, you're not playing with those guys, and he got a +1, so it was huge.
You left out Eldritch Storm. Talking about all these other powers that were amazing. Eldritch Storm was a 5-inch template of AP2.
That is true. I kind of forgot that one.
Oh, no.
So, and he could also cast 3 of those. So he would put, like, he'd throw Fortune as defensive and then just drop AP2 on you with Mind War and Eldritch Storm. He could just pick up whatever was in front of him by himself. And he was with a unit, usually.
Yeah, it says he had a bodyguard of warlocks. Who would, I guess, make it so you couldn't,
also had Destructor.
and so you couldn't target him. And if you got close enough to target him, he would destroy you.
And they would flame you just in case.
Yeah.
With actual flamers.
Destructor was the flamer template.
Yeah.
So this is a purely casual only model.
I just love the fact that he's also the most random amount of points, 246.
Oh, you're right. He is 246. Nice. I like it. Let's go with it. I assume the staff of Ultramar also did stuff. I mean, all these things make no sense.
Yeah, there's an entire separate, another page of all his rules with this on. He was bonkers. Yeah, they didn't let him in. Who else was busted? That
sounds like Dante shouldn't have been allowed in either.
Well, no, special characters were just banned from tournaments unless somebody said they weren't.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure through. Like this all seems. It's just childish.
You used to have weird stuff too. You could, if somebody said you had to basically go, hey, are we all agreeing on special characters? Because if you brought a special character and Snakes brings a special character, it plays me, and I'm like, cool. And then he plays you. You can just be like, I don't agree to you playing that special character.
So he had to bring an extra 246 points just in case I said no.
Effectively, you're just like, yeah, you can't bring that.
Oh God!
It said it was up to your opponent on every one of these special characters.
Okay, yeah, because that was what I was going to get to. Is in a tournament, though, I assume that if the tournament said yay to special characters, you would play with them, or
but it had to be, there was so few and far between though.
Oh, I can see why. I mean, I came in more in the era. I came in just at the end of banned Forge World models, and those were kind of broken. This is a whole different level.
Yeah, well, so many things just didn't have the ability to deal with them back in the day. You know, you didn't have as much stuff. You didn't also have the speed and the volume. Star cannons were just so broken. 3 shots with AP2, that was unheard of. Like it was just crazy.
Oh, this edition's childish. But yeah, I think with that, though, this is a pretty good coverage of the data sheets. Next week, what we're going to do is we're going to actually move into 4th edition, which will help. We're helping Brad's memory out as we get a little bit warmer in the things that he played.
I do remember 4th wildly more than 3rd, but I was also learning basically in 3rd.
I know, but I'm sure because Snigs won't be with us next time, so he'll be sending you messages after he posted of that was 5th edition.
Yeah, all I know is that 5th edition happened as soon as Green Knights.
Every time we do anything, the only rules you'll get right will be 7th edition because they're just burned into your soul in a horrible way.
Yeah, I don't want to be here for the 7th.
You don't have to do 7th. 7th is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
7th is going to involve someone just crying, I think. Oh.
So 7th is the only edition that things were so broken that Sniggs basically his head was smoking because his whole job as our duo of finding stuff is he's supposed to find the busted weird combos so we know how to play against them. And 7th was so full of them that every time he would make a list, you'd find a new, unbelievably busted mechanic of how this works. And you're just like, oh man, this is stupid.
Yeah.
7th was also detachments, where you could bring detachments.
No, it wasn't detachments. It was formations.
Formations. Yeah.
Sorry, formations. In fact, speaking of broken in formations, somebody borrowed my Riptide wing and broke.
You know, we're gonna end on this story.
Brad has told this story before, and I love this story.
I'm doing it again. So I'll end on this. I am a notorious model breaker, and I use 90% of Snakes' stuff. I go to Nova, and I won Nova that year, actually. I go to Nova, and I have 3 Riptides in a formation, which was ridiculous. I think they re-rolled everything. It was so nuts, but whatever. I have them in the Tupperware, which is how we travel with models. And I take all the backpacks, all the guns off, the arms of the guns off, and I lay everything down. And I get back to the house, and I'm like a proud puppy, like, ooh, look how good I did. And Sniggs just looks at me and he goes, dude, all of that stuff was glued on. It wasn't magnetized. You just ripped all the arms and the backpacks off of all of my Riptides. And I'm like, well, you should magnetize them because this would have been great. He's like, also
magnetized now.
It's like, how many are you that you didn't notice that you were just ripping shit off the model? I'm like, whoopsie daisy.
Well, with that, we will see everyone in a fortnight. This has been John Barsotti, Brad Chester,
this guy,
and Sniggs. See you all in 14 days.